Today I want to share with you my investing journey and give you a bit of insight onto what I've learned along the way and how I got into everything.
Why you not here with me? Can you break bread with me? Ice with bone, I was like cold.
How's it going, guys? Ryan here again, and today I'm coming at you guys with something a bit different, a bit more about myself. I want to tell you guys how I got into investing and all that sort of thing. But before we get started, please remember to drop me a like, it helps me out so much, and subscribe for more content if you enjoy it. So as I was saying, this is sort of a bit of a different video. I want to give you a bit of an insight onto myself, how I got into investing and trading, and some of the lessons and whatnot that I've learnt along the way. So when I was growing up, I never really considered investing. I was always pretty good with saving my money and that sort of thing, but the first time I really heard about investing was at university through a friend, and he was getting into it, and it didn't really worry me. At that point, I was just working a retail job, didn't know anything about financial uh, security, securing your financial future, that sort of stuff. And investing wasn't really a concern with me. I just wanted to travel, enjoy myself, party, that sort of thing. So that friend actually approached me and said, "Hey, I've heard about this really good company. It's called Pilbara Minerals, for those of you who know, back in the day." And at that point it was about 10 cents a share, which for all you know, it actually went up to about $1.20, $1.25 at one point. So if I'd bought it then, it would have absolutely skyrocketed. But I sort of just listened a bit, didn't really take any note. I didn't have any money at that stage. I'd just gotten back from a trip to Europe, and as a result I was still in progress of sorting my bank account out, working a retail job and not earning too much money that I could really ever consider getting involved. I eventually got a full-time job after I graduated uni, and for those of you that are curious, I studied a Bachelor of Commerce at a university here in WA, and basically started earning a decent wage. So I had a bit of money on the side, and I was like, hey, may as well do something with it. So got in touch with my friend who was investing, and the first share that I actually bought was the Pilbara Mineral share, but I only put in $500. I didn't have that much money at that point in time, and didn't really have any sort of clue as to what I was doing, and as a result didn't want to risk too much. By this stage, Pilbara Minerals had hit the 50 cent mark, and that's what actually really sparked my interest in the investing side of things, because I looked back and said, hey, I could have bought this share at 10 cents a share and made 5 times my money. Wow, that would have been really awesome. And for me, making money through using your existing money was something I'd never done before. I was used to trading my time to make a living, make money through working essentially. So, as I said, ended up buying the share. I bought $500 worth, which isn't too much, and not really much happened over the next few years. I didn't really touch the shares at all. They didn't really fluctuate in value for me too much because I'd put such a minimal amount of money into it. And as I said, that's because I didn't have too much money at the time, but a bit of time went by. I followed it relatively closely just to see what was going on. I was sort of learning about the industry I was investing in more, which was lithium, and learnt about the stock market. Then I actually ended up deciding to leave the job I was at and move to a different job, and I started getting paid a bit more money. So as a result, I was, as I said, really good at saving. So I'd saved up quite a bit of disposable income, and I was getting paid a higher salary. So I felt that I had a bit more capital to put in shares. That's when I really started getting involved in some interesting stuff. The guys in the office at my new job were consistently talking about share trading, that sort of thing, and I actually ended up working with that friend I knew from university. So here's me sitting there with all my work colleagues and my mate. Constantly every day they're talking about shares, and that really piqued my interest because I was only in Pilbara Minerals at that stage, and I wanted to get into something else. I wanted to use a bit more money that I had sitting aside to see if I could make any real value from it. So there was another lithium miner at that time they were talking about, and as this was an industry I knew a bit about by that stage, I thought, you know what, screw it, I'll get involved. It was a cheap share. It was about 3 point something cents at the time when I initially bought in, and I chucked in a few grand to see what would happen with it. This was sort of the first taste I had of trading itself, because I invested money and then it doubled in price and I ended up taking a bit of it out and making a nice little profit off it. Then the value of the share just kept increasing. I was like, oh man, I've missed out on so much money. I was emotionally trading because at that stage I hadn't been involved enough and experienced enough to understand that you've got to shift your emotions away from your investments and focus on what you have made as opposed to what you could have made. So the stock was rising in price. It was going up really, really quickly. I ended up getting back into it and putting even more money into it this time. And fortunately for myself, the stock did continue to rise and it went up and up and up to the point where it passed about 30 cents a share. And I've been gradually accumulating shares from that point. The share price ended up hitting about roughly 35 cents and all of a sudden it took an absolutely huge plummet down. It was a pump and dump. This share was purely being driven based upon hype, and as a result I was in a profit significantly, but the share was dropping in value. And I hadn't learned at that stage that you need to secure your profits. You need to have a trailing stop loss in place so that you don't lose the capital which you've gained through silly mistakes like holding on to shares. This stock basically kept dropping and dropping and dropping. A lot of it was to do with hype and a lot of it was also to do with the economic factors of the market at that point. The commodity of lithium at that stage had peaked and the industry had peaked overall with regards to the lithium price, and all of a sudden the entire industry was taking a really sharp downturn. The share kept dropping in value until it hit about 16 cents a share, and that's when I called it. I said, all right, I don't want to keep losing money. I'd already by that stage lost tens of thousands of dollars in profits that I'd gained. So effectively I hadn't lost any of my money that I'd put in by that point. And at the 16 cent point, or 17 cent point actually I believe it was, I decided to get out and I still made a really nice healthy profit off that share. For me, that was an incredibly big lesson due to the fact that I'd lost so much potential earnings just by holding onto a share which had been dropping in value. I had no reason to hold onto it. I was purely being greedy and I wasn't experienced enough to say, you know what, I need to just cut it off here. And I also had the deluded vision that it was still going to keep increasing in value, even though there was not really anything going for it at that point in time, apart from the fact that it had really good grades, it was a large resource, but unfortunately everything else wasn't going too well. I'm fortunate I sold out when I did because it ended up dropping over the next year or so down to about 4 cents. I don't know if it hit 3 cents, but it was about 4 cents a share at some one point, which would have basically put me in the red as I'd been accumulating the entire time. That was the point where I decided to actually start learning about how to trade properly, how to invest properly, as opposed to listening to what my colleagues, what my friends were doing. I wanted to actually be able to do something for myself and start making some of my own investment decisions, some of my own trades, because that way I'm not relying on others to make my decisions for me, because at the end of the day, they're not always going to be there to help me out. And I'm likely to lose a lot more money if I go out on my own without any sort of knowledge about the subject. Basically what I did was I started reading a few books, I started watching YouTube videos, and for me that was absolutely the most fundamental thing. There was so much free content on YouTube and there's so many people on YouTube who are uploading videos each and every day teaching you about charting patterns, fundamental investing, technical indicators, all that sort of good stuff. And it's right there for you, and I really took advantage of that, and that's when I really started to get into shares. Like, I started to enjoy trading and enjoy investing. Obviously it was always nice to see what I'd invested in previously, the money going up, but this time I was able to actually make educated decisions on my future investments because I'd actually learnt something. Gradually, I started to shift away from listening to just my friends for my investment decisions to a point where I was making my own investment decisions and doing my own research, looking up companies, looking at their financial results, looking at the charts, and making my own trades and investments. And I found I made a lot more money, significantly more money, when I knew what I was doing and I was making my own decisions as opposed to relying on other people. It was at that point that it really clicked in my head that I could genuinely make a real living off doing investing, and that's when I really got into it. And now essentially it's everything I do full time. I love it. It's the best decision I ever made to start investing, and I always thank my friend for getting me into it, because if he hadn't told me about shares and that sort of thing, I doubt I would have got involved in it, because it's sort of one of those things where it's a scary area for a lot of people, given the fact that you're having to sacrifice your hard-earned money and potentially lose it, particularly when you don't know what you're doing when you first start investing. So for me, it was a good leap of faith, and I had someone there who sort of knew what they were talking about, and it was helpful. So my recommendation to you guys would absolutely be find someone who can be sort of a mentor figure. Do your own research on top of that, but it's always nice to be able to have someone there to ask advice and to guide you when you need it. Follow people on Twitter. I've found that's often one of the best places. If you don't really know anyone else who invests, you can ask people questions, you can query them, that sort of thing, ask for advice, and more often than not, people are so willing to help, so happy to help. Even the, I suppose, what you'd call millionaire mentor type investors, private message them, because you'd often be very surprised to see they will reply and they will answer your questions and that sort of thing. They really enjoy interacting with people. And for me, I've had a lot of people approach me these days because they know I do it on the side, because I talk about it, I enjoy it. For me, this is sort of more of a lifestyle thing now. I'm consistently checking my shares and that sort of stuff and enjoying myself and doing it. So people know I do it. People go and come and ask advice, and I think it's great. I want to help everyone, and I want everyone to be successful, especially my family and friends. So for a few years, I basically traded and invested, and then it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I've got all these people asking me questions, all these people asking me queries. What should I do? And I decided to make this YouTube channel to help people out, help people outside necessarily my friendship group, my family out, because it's something I really enjoy. I want to share the knowledge that I've gained and the experience that I've gained so that people can get into investing and hopefully avoid some of the early mistakes that I made, because there were some and I lost decent chunks of money as a result of it. But for me, it was a real growing experience, and I learnt so much from it. I always encourage everyone to ask questions in the comment sections, because I'm more than willing to help you guys out. For me, that was the most valuable thing, getting advice from people who had a bit of experience in the market and someone that I could consult. If you follow me on Twitter, underscore the real RJP at the moment, that's my handle. Basically, that's where I'm consistently posting and communicating with people and trying to sort of build a community, I suppose you'd say, because the best thing you can do is to build a community of like-minded people, gather everyone together, and everyone is helping everyone out. I'm really hoping this YouTube channel grows and facilitates some conversations, help you guys out with a bit of information, some knowledge. And I hope you guys ask me questions. I really want to help you guys out, as I said before. And please remember to like, subscribe, share these videos, get it out to more people, because the more people who get involved, the more people who can secure their financial future, the more people who can make some money on the side, do something other than save or spend their money, and potentially turn it into a career that is quite successful for them. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up there for the day. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I said before, please like and subscribe. If you've got any comments, questions, queries, just drop them down in the comment section below. And with that, have an awesome day, guys. See you next time.